Hey folks, Aaron here, and I got a question for you. Is anybody bored with their kit lens yet? Well, if you are, don't worry, you are not alone. I think I lasted 7 days before I had to run out and buy a new lens. And it wasn't necessarily because the kit lens was bad or there was anything wrong with it. I just wanted something new and wanted to play with some new stuff. So today I want to go over 3 lenses that are the logical next step for somebody on a budget and somebody who is really starting off in photography and wants to go out and check out some new lenses. These are the 3 lenses that I believe most people are going to look at first. They're the ones I looked at first: the 24mm, the 50mm, and the 55x250. I'm going to leave links in the description below if you want to check out the prices, but these are the most reasonably priced and they do a lot for you, but they all do different things. So let's see what they do. The 24mm, good in low light situations. I use it to film a lot of my YouTube videos. Good vlogging lens. It's good in direct sunlight. It shoots very clear, reliable video. It's good indoors, good in sun and shade. Just a solid all-around lens that you can't go wrong with. Now the 50mm, an excellent portrait lens, excellent low light at an f1.8. Leaves you a lot of room for creativity with blurring the background on that bokeh effect, and it gives a very cinematic look and feel. Also, it's good for capturing video in very low light, like right here. Extremely early in the morning, very dark situation, and it picks it up beautifully. Now, one of the drawbacks of the 50mm is that it does not have image stabilization. But as you can see here, I shot this in manual mode, and you just have a lot of room for creativity to exaggerate the bokeh effect. You can do a lot of things with the depth of field, and just a great lens to play with and experiment with. Now the 55x250, I would definitely say this is geared for photography versus the video. You can capture excellent portraits, you can get excellent wildlife, you can just really get a lot of range, and it gives really clear pictures. Now here's some video example, and as you can see here, it gets a little shaky even though it does have image stabilization, but it gives a really clear picture and it lets you get really close. A lot of fun to play with. Now here's when it is basically on a tripod here, and you can see the difference in the image quality. It really does require some sort of a tripod or mount because it does get shaky because it's so long, but a great lens. Okay, so this is the 50mm on auto. Now let's compare it to Alright, so here's the kit lens set at 50mm. Kit lens at 50mm. Okay, so this is the 24mm video set on auto. Alright, now this is the kit lens set at 24mm to compare it to the 24mm. Okay, so this is the 50mm. I know a lot of people are interested in how these would look if you were to make your YouTube videos or for vlogging or things of that nature. I'm going to show you the 24mm, but you see how close this is, because at 50mm on this crop sensor is actually closer to 70mm. So we are it's right up on me, very tight shot, and I'm standing a good distance away. So, but you can see it blurs the background really nicely, and I can adjust it so the background's not blurred. Let me do that and show you, so you can make video without having it all blurred all around you. Let me show you how to do that. I'm not going to show you how to do that, but I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a sec. Okay, so now I've switched it to manual mode and set some of my own adjustments here. I've got it open wide up at f1.8, got the ISO set at 100, and I'm shooting at, it's reading 80, f1.8, 100. Those are the settings that I'm shooting at right now. And as you can see here, the background is completely blurred. This is actually probably a little bright. Let's take it down a notch. Set that to 100 f1.8 and 100 ISO. So there you go. So it's very simple to set the manual mode and to create the effect you want with the background with the 50mm. So now let's see here. I'll show you, I'll change the settings to have the background completely or as in focus as I can get it. And let's see if I can make everything in focus with the 50mm. All right, so this is the 50mm. Again, I've adjusted it so that way the background is not blurry. I'm looking at shutter speed 250, f14, and the ISO is at 3200. Those are the settings of this shot. And as you can see here, I've eliminated that bokeh effect. So, you know, just another thing you can do here with the 50mm to experiment and play around with. Okay, so here's the 24mm. Again, I'm the same length away that I just was with the 50mm. And you can see the difference. Obviously, it's much wider field of view. It is an f2.8 versus the f1.8, but I'm shooting this on auto, so it's gonna give you a similar lighting effect. And you can see on auto mode, the background blur. And this is just a great little vlogging lens, or I love using it for the YouTube tutorials and whatnot. So this is the 24mm. Now I'm going to adjust this and show you how you can mess with the bokeh effect in video here as well. It's very simple, and let's check that out. Settings here, aperture is wide open at f2.8. I've got the ISO down to the minimal at 100, and I'm shooting at 60. Let's bump it to 80. Now I'll put it to 80, and as you can see the background here, and then let's stand at the right spot. Okay, here we go. Now you can see there's a little more blurring going on back here. All right, so this is at 80, f9.0, and ISO is 1600. I could actually bump this down a little. It's a little bright. Make it a little darker. And as you can see here, the background looks pretty crystal clear. So the depth of field here is pretty much at 100%, and you're getting, all right. Now let's check out the kit lens and let's compare how that is to the 24 and the 50. Okay, so this is the kit lens at 24mm. Take a look behind me. Compare, contrast this to the 24mm. Shouldn't be a whole lot different, especially in this type of lighting. But this will give you an idea for vlogging or whatnot, what to expect as far as the differences between this and the 24mm. Okay, so this is going to be very low light at sunrise, very poor lighting. So let's start with the kit lens at 24mm. This is the f4 to 5.6 kit lens, and as you can see, a lot of grain, a lot of noise, not very clear. Okay, now here's the 24mm 2.8, and as you can see here, a lot of the noise is gone. It's much clearer image, a lot more crisp, which is to be expected. Again, it's a f2.8 versus an f4. Okay, now here's the kit lens at 50mm, which is maxing out around the f5.6, so it's not very clear, very grainy, compared to the 50mm at f1.8. As you can see, a drastic difference. So just a low light test. Okay folks, so that's it. You got the 24mm, the 50mm, and the 55 by 250mm, all Canon lenses, all reasonably priced, and they all offer something different. The 24mm gives you that nice wide shot for video, for vlogging, which I'm using right now. It also is great for photos because it gives you, with the crop sensor at 1.6, puts it around the 38mm range, which is similar and gives you that comfort level if you're somebody like me who grew up with the 35mm pictures and photos. That, you know, all of our family photos were 35mm, so it gives you that comfortable feel. Now the 50mm, much tighter shot with the crop, puts you at around 70mm, but it gives you a lot of options for portraits, for the bokeh effect. In video, as you saw, it gives you that cinematic feel, and you can really do a lot, again, with that bokeh effect. Just by changing some settings, you can either add to it or subtract from it. It gives you a lot of versatility in dealing with the depth of field, which is really nice, especially for beginners who are experimenting and learning. So, and then finally, the 55 by 250, excellent for photography. It does well for video, but it's definitely not a video shooting lens. Just because it's so long, it's hard to keep stable. So if you're going to shoot video with that, I would definitely recommend a tripod or having it in a fixed position, because as you saw, just a slight movement, especially zoomed all the way out at 250, is going to give you a lot of bounce in your video and stuff. But overall, I'd say, one more thing about that 250, the 55 by 250. The one I'm showing here is the older model, and it's about 3 times cheaper than the newer model. And I don't know the differences between this one and the newer one. All I can say is that I've had no issues with this. As you saw there, it gives me good results, and I'm very happy with it. So just keep that in mind. I put the links in the description below if you want to check out those prices. And the other thing I want to add about the 50 millimeter, I do hear it. The focusing, it's somewhat noisy focusing. I was surprised. Now the camera didn't pick it up, which is a good thing, but I heard it. And that was the first lens I've ever used that I actually heard the focusing on it. I don't hear it at all on the 24 millimeter. So yeah, here's the videos if you want to see them. And again, I'll link all these lenses in the description below if you want to check out the prices. And other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.